Even though RC racing is the main focus of this channel, it would be foolish of me to completely ignore the bashing side of this hobby. It hurts for me to say, but if you were to walk into any hobby store at all, the chances of you finding an actual racing rig front and center pulling in the most sales at said shop would be pretty much zero. Bashers are very popular, and unfortunately the divide between basher kits and racer kits are more divided than ever, especially in 10th scale. It leads me into one of the biggest hurdles a lot of bashers will say when they talk about why they don't race. That being, quote unquote, I don't have a racing kit and or don't want to spend too much money on one, or none of my rigs that I already own can race. In this video we'll be trying to alleviate those worries, as we're going to go over some of the best basher market RC racers out there you probably already own. The only real rule for this video is that we'll be focusing on off-road racing only, mainly 10th and 8th scale. That means no oval, drifting, or drag racing. It also means no on-road for now. Maybe I'll make another video about them, but that would mainly be Tamiya vehicles, wouldn't it? Also, I know exactly what some racers are going to type into the comment section already. Believe me, I'll get into that point later. Before we begin though, I'd like to thank this video's sponsors, A-Main Hobbies, Cow RC, RC Trophy Chasers, and Peach State Hobbies. Anything you guys purchase using the links in the description below will directly support me as well. Let us finally begin. Before we get into the more obvious picks, why don't we go over some more obscure and or overlooked parts, but can still do very well in the modern RC world, particularly as a Truggy, and that's the Arrma Kraton. At first glance, the Kraton doesn't really seem like it'd be a good racer. It has a high-ish center of gravity, it has bad tires for most off-road tracks these days, it's set up to run on 6S and not 4, and it's really heavy. However, with a few different changes, you can make it into a pretty good racer if you want to and already own one. For one, there's the wheelbase and wheel and tire options. The wheelbase of the Kraton is already pretty similar to a regular Truggy, and because the truck is able to run normal racing Truggy wheels as they have the same wheel hex diameter, specifically 17mm, you don't really need to do much after that to make it drivable on the track. After that, it's mainly a matter of changing shock oils and diff oils. Now, the one thing I'm not too sure about is whether or not the Kraton 6S has a center diff or a limited slip center diff. If it has an LSD in the center, I personally would get the regular center diff to give myself an easier driving experience, along with a different pinion so you can comfortably run on a 4S pack. There are two other cars that could fit into this category of 8th scale Truggy racer. The first is the Arrma Notorious. It has all the benefits that a Truggy Kraton has, but it has a shorter chassis. As such, I don't think it'd be set up to race the same way as a Kraton would, and you'd end up just turning it into a Kraton anyway. The other is the Traxxas Sledge. Now there are two reasons why I didn't fully include the Sledge. For one, the Sledge is a bit harder to tune and set up for racing compared to the Kraton. The Kraton has less proprietary electronics, and when I tried to look up which parts you need to turn into Sledge into a racer from Traxxas themselves, I was met with the 404 Gatekeeper, and I don't feel like using my Wayback Machine right now. If you already have a Kraton 6S BLX or even the EXP BLX, you can absolutely race it if you have the right parts, or to be honest, just tires. Of course, it's impossible to talk about any and all bashers that can race somewhat without talking about the Traxxas Slash. There are plenty of stock Slash classes out there for many 10 scale dirt tracks where the Slash is happiest. There's also Marks and Marina Slash series that I'll put in the description, and I think it's still going on in Texas, but I'm not sure. If he's watching, please let me know. The main idea of Slash classes is quite simply to have an entry-level class that's cheap, not as competitive, and easy to get into and understand. There are 3 different Slash categories out there, but for now we're only going to talk about the 2 10th scale variants, those being the 2-wheel drive model and the 4-wheel drive model, both of which can be used on multiple different scenarios. The 2-wheel drive model, which I'll go over first, comes in multiple different flavors, from brushed models to brushless models as well. This one would be much better on a 10th scale, less demanding track, be it indoor or outdoor dirt, though dirt is where it's most happiest. The 4-wheel drive Slash comes in 2 different flavors that are worth mentioning. those being the standard high center of gravity trucks and the ultimate low center of gravity chassis truck. The Ultimate is much better for racing due to its low center of gravity, making it much easier to drive, along with its center diff, both of which some tuning, i.e. linear springs, front and rear, different shock and oil and tires, can handle fairly well on a track. However, if you do not have a Traxxas and want something from another brand, there's also the Arrma Fury 2-wheel drive and Sentin 4-wheel drive. If anything, I think these with correct tuning would be better suited for a track for a beginner for a couple reasons. For one, they have a lower center of gravity out of the box, less proprietary electronics, and are less expensive than their Traxxas rivals. These two I want to highlight mainly because of their popularity. I can go down an entire rabbit hole of different short course trucks from different brands, from HPI and especially Team Associated, but once again, I'll get to that later. Moving on to a bigger scale but similar look, we have the Max Slash and the Arrma Mojave. These are what may be called 8th scale short course trucks. Yes, I know the Max calls itself 10th scale, but trust me, it's much bigger than that. Another thing to note about this particular scale of short course trucks is that it isn't really a specific class yet. There has been a push from a few people to make a new class of 8th scale short course trucks by using techno and other parts. Specifically a Truggy chassis and Buggy arms and suspension components. Now, where have I heard this before? This is mostly because lots of racers are starting to not like the Truggy and it's become more of a big buggy class. I personally think the 8th scale short course truck class would be pretty cool. It would definitely spice things up a bit in the 8th scale space, though I'm not sure how many people would actually jump on it. Anyway, I got off topic, the Mojave and Max Slash. The only real downside is that there aren't really many options for 8th scale short course trucks, wheels, and tires, specifically for racing. Even still, with some finesse, like you're seeing on screen right now, you can get one around the track pretty well if you're willing to put the work in. Overall, it's a pretty safe option too. That's enough about trucks and Truggies though. We all know that the main classes in racing these days are buggy classes by far. This leaves me with, once again, options from Traxxas and Arrma. Are you beginning to sense a pattern here? The buggies we'll be looking at are the Traxxas 4x4 Jado, because I said Creighton earlier, and the Arrma 223S Typhon BLX. These are what we racers like to call light e-buggies, or in the case of the Traxxas, a backslash. These aren't built to work on full 4S batteries, but can still do very well with a smaller 3S or even 2S battery. Think of it like a short course truck buggy with a buggy body. Both the 4x4 Jado and the Typhon use electronics that are best suited for 2 to 3S batteries, and both are roughly the size of a regular e-buggy. Roughly. They also both use 17 hex hubs, and as such, you have the entire world of 8th scale buggy, wheels, and tire choices at your disposal. As for the testament to their performance, I have seen 4x4 Jados do pretty well at a local level in a few sportsman level races, which if you're just starting out and are used to bashing, is exactly where you should be. Overall, I think the Jado has a bit better geometry than the Typhon and a bit better construction, but the Typhon may be more durable just from design alone, specifically looking at the towers. Both of which would be able to get around a track in the buggy class okay with a few minor adjustments, and crucially, different tires. For some honorable mentions, we have the Team Associated RB10 and Traxxas Bandit. The RB10 is a lot better than the Bandit in a lot of ways, but if you're a basher, chances are you probably already have the Bandit, which can do okay on the track with different wheels and tires, and can do very well if you're willing to put a lot of work into it. Next up is again from Team Associated, in my opinion the best entry-level RTR racing vehicle you can buy, which is the Pro 4 SE10. It has the best driving characteristics of any RTR short course truck, and can do pretty damn well on a multitude of different tracks. The only reason I didn't really mention is because once again Team Associated isn't really known as a basher brand. And lastly, we have, well, pretty much anything of the right scale and size for that track. The point I'm trying to make with this video is that to bashers on the fence of going to a track is that you should be welcome with anything, within reason of course. Don't show up to a mini Z track with a gas HPI Baja. If you want to run your stock slash on the dirt track during a practice day or in the novice class, you're completely welcome to. Most class indeed have a run what you brung class, and even if they don't, if you're willing to run, they'll probably allow you to run your car anyway. So if you have something like a Traxxas Max, HPI Savage, a Arrma Notorious, or even a Baja Ray with the solid rear axle, don't be afraid or ashamed to run it. If someone tries to give you grief over running something that isn't top of the line, that says more about them than it does you. This leads me to the words I know a lot of racers say to newcomers both online and when they arrive to the track with their bashers looking to just enjoy themselves and learn about the racing world. And those words are, sell X, buy Y. Now, I understand why people say this. Race buggies and trucks are usually much easier to drive and a lot more fun to drive in a track setting than a pure bashing rig. But it also comes across as sort of tone-deaf and elitist to a lot of newcomers. This hypothetical newcomer just spent a boatload of cash on an RC they really enjoy and want to come to a track to have fun going around a track. Now, you're telling them the only way to improve is to sell that same RC car that they probably spent a lot of money on and will now only get the half total cost of, and then spend even more money on a kit that isn't even fully put together or even soldered out of the box. From an outsider looking in, this looks extremely elitist and straight up unwelcoming. And right now, the last thing we need in this hobby is to be more unwelcoming than the hobby already can be. Moving on to my final point, and something I know some of you may have already commented on, this being that I didn't mention a lot of RTR race buggies that are out there, like the Kyosho MP10E RTR, this S-Works Apollo series of buggies, the Serpent SRX E RTR, quite nice actually, the Losi 8 RTR, and of course the TLR-tuned Arma Typhon, which I made an entire video about not too long ago. The reason I didn't mention those buggies is simple. Bashers usually don't buy those buggies unless they're already dead set on getting onto racing for a little bit. This video was to highlight the bigger basher market trucks that people actually buy from the hobby shop shelves for a Christmas/birthday present for their kid, or themselves. I don't judge. I wanted to say that if you don't have a race vehicle, that's okay. You don't need one to have fun at a track. If this man can have a fun track day at the Virginia International Raceway in this, you can have fun with a Max Slash and an Ace Skulls track on a practice day. But that's just kinda my opinion. If you guys have any other RTR basher style RCs that I missed, probably from Will Toys or something like that, be sure to let me know in the comment section below. Also, be sure to hit the like button if you just enjoyed the video and subscribe if you're new here and want to see more. I'd also like to thank my patrons and channel members, specifically Michael Williams, RC World Discord server, Dave Armstrong, Rob Bedingfield, Caden Merks, Ian Petrie, Buddy Howell, Jeffrey Coons, Shane T. Ruth, Gable Barber, my new patron Freeman Racing Team, Jeffrey Coons again, RC Trophy Chasers, Gralisk86, Claymore RC, Brian G, and especially Morrison Watt. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Seriously though, looking at some of these large-scale bashers, they are pretty expensive. I mean, not full-blown nitro buggy expensive, but they're close. They're getting there. They are certainly getting there.